Hello, everyone. I'm Amanda Simmons, and I'm here with President Ward. He'll be sharing with us a few details about himself and answering a few questions that I have prepared. So, to jump right into it, how have you been feeling after becoming the University of Hartford's 7th president?
Well, thank you, and thanks for the opportunity. I feel good. With each day, with each week, with each month, I understand more and more about our community and about this institution. I guess I would say I am not only more comfortable, but more enamored about who we are and where we're headed. I feel like I've been well received by our community, not the least of which is from students. So I am feeling optimistic and really positive.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Would you like to share with us some details about yourself and whether that's where you're from or
Sure.
what school you went to or how you think that you got to the point that you're at now?
Sure. Well, this is home. The greater Hartford area is home. I grew up in Vernon, graduated from Rockville High School. I say I was born, raised, and educated in Connecticut. So I was an undergraduate student at the University of Connecticut. And I started my first job after being a business student at UConn with Aetna, one of the major companies and insurers here in Hartford. Transitioned to the Washington, D.C. field office, and that's where I spent sort of the formative years of my professional career at Aetna, and then went off to graduate school, University of Michigan, but came back to the D.C. area and worked for a small consultancy. And then I spent 13 years at American University, first as a director, and then as worked my way up to being an associate dean. Along the way, got married, 2 children, and I spent the last 10 years in the Boston area at Babson College, where I was a vice president and dean there. And then had the good fortune to be selected as president and came home to Connecticut after 30 years away. And here I am.
Well, we're glad to have you back.
Thank you.
And thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Do you have a vision that you would like to share with us for the university?
You're saying, do I have a vision? I do, in fact, have a vision. And it's not too dissimilar from where the University of Hartford has been and who we have been since 1957. I've spent a lot of time since becoming president talking with alumni about their experiences on campus, both in Connecticut and also traveling in New York. I was down visiting with Atlanta and Georgia, or in Atlanta visiting with alumni from the Georgia area. And all of the alumni, including a meeting in my office today, talk about this transformative impact that the university had on them. Not just their education, but really on their life. No matter how they found themselves at the University of Hartford, this place had a transformative impact on them. And it was usually a faculty member or was often a staff member, and they can call that person by name, even if it's 30 or 40 years later, that took an interest in them and helped them to see the possibilities for their life in ways that they perhaps didn't imagine for themselves. And they graduated and they felt inspired to have a transformative impact on others in their community, in their organization, in their industry. And that continues to be my vision for the University of Hartford. That is what I call an amplifying effect. That you come, you have a transformative experience, you graduate inspired to have a transformative experience, to give a transformative experience to others. In that sense, the University of Hartford becomes a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. And that's truly my vision, if I were to sum it down, that it be a beacon of hope and inspiration for others. I believe intensely in the value of higher education to improve lives. And that's what the University of Hartford has been, and that's what it will continue to be.
Well, that's beautiful. How will you ensure that underrepresented student voices are heard and advocated for? during the time that you're president?
I think it's incumbent upon any leader, and particularly a leader in a community. And university campuses are first and foremost communities, academic community. It's also a place where people live. And you ensure that all voices are heard, particularly those underrepresented, by seeking out those voices, right? And being very intentional and thoughtful and proactive about visiting and asking people about their experience. And that can be in a formal sense, right? Something that's scheduled or formal interactions, but also by listening and observing. Every time I have a chance to be on campus, walking from one place to another, it's a chance to observe and to interact and to smile at people. If I go and get a meal at the Commons or at GSU, it's a chance for me to interact with members of this community and to observe community members, what I call in their natural habitat, versus meeting in my office or as part of an event. And so listening and observation have been a big part of my leadership approach, and nothing about becoming a university president has changed that. The final thing I'll say is I believe that talent is universal, but opportunities are not. And I was presented with opportunities throughout the course of my professional life, and I have a responsibility, feel a sense of responsibility, continue to provide that for others, especially those who come from underrepresented or disadvantaged backgrounds.
Right. Well, this kind of leads into my next question. And what kind of leader do you hope to be?
I hope to be an effective leader. Popularity is always, it's a nicety. But I've always wanted to be respected, and I always wanted to be successful because of the outcomes that I'm able to lead a community to. I very much believe that leadership isn't about me. It's about the people that I lead and the communities where I serve. And so as the University of Hartford does well, as you have a transformative experience, right, as you go on and graduate and do something fabulous in the world, that will be evidence of my leadership. As this university continues to rise and achieve new levels of distinction and accomplishment, that's evidence of strong leadership. As people feel more and more confident about the University of Hartford and its direction, that's evidence of my leadership. So I want to be effective, and I want to be a respected leader. And it starts by leading with transparency, being my authentic self, and respecting the community that I have the privilege to lead.
Well, I think you've been doing a great job. And
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. That means a lot.
Fun question.
Yeah.
When you went to school, how did you de-stress during final season?
How did I basketball? So pickup basketball was really one of my big de-stressors.
Okay.
I would play a couple times a week, and I loved everything about it. I still love the game. I don't play it anymore. Even pick up too many injuries, including 2 torn Achilles tendons.
Oh no.
But pickup basketball was my stress reliever.
Well,
Yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah.
How do you plan to work with other student leaders and the administration to make the campus better?
As I said, by listening, I was really, really delighted and privileged. My wife and I hosted student government leaders at our home last week for dinner. And it was just a chance to casual get to know each other and to learn about their stories and demystify what it means to be a president, and to build a sense of relationship and rapport. I think that's really true of anything that you do, is that it starts by having a good, positive working relationship where people feel comfortable sharing and exchanging ideas. I think if you wait until there's a problem, or wait until there is tension, or wait until there's a crisis to try to build a relationship, you're a little late to the party. And so I think inviting people into conversation, being proactive about relationship building, and then listening. I think that curiosity, especially for anyone, but particularly for a leader and certainly for a chief executive, to be curious about others, what other people have to say, what leads them to say what they may, to share their opinion, to give space for people to feel comfortable sharing their opinion. I think it's a big part of being effective.
Right, and I bet everyone who came to that event felt super welcomed and, like you said, given that space.
I hope so. And, it takes more than one event, but I want them to see me. Sure, everyone's going to see me as the president. I get that. But I want them to see me as a real person as well, and not the big bad administration.
Right.
Yeah. Which not just put a name to a name and face to that, but that there's a person there as well.
Right. Now, there has been some growing concern about parking for students. Do you plan to address these issues, and/or have you ever heard about that concern?
I have heard about the concern. I've heard any number of concerns. What I will say is we have, I think, a number of challenges related to our physical plant, right? The physical environment that we operate on a day-to-day basis. And parking lots and parking availability is a part of that. I think my first job is to try to prioritize when there are a number of needs that require attention and investment. You can't attack all of them simultaneously. And so I'm in the process now of determining the sort of highest and best use of investment. And right now I'm pretty focused on ensuring that our residence halls, that our classroom facilities are as strong as they can be. And in terms of parking and availability of parking and the cost of parking, we will begin to tackle that in due course of time.
Well, I'm sure lots of people are happy to hear that.
I'm sure.
And are there any messages at all that you would like to send the students, parents, or faculty?
Yeah, I would say a couple. Number one, that I'm enormously grateful for the opportunity to lead this community. I would extend an open invitation to students to come up and introduce themselves to me. I love to hear students' story. I think I can be a better educator. I can be a better leader. I can be a better chief executive when I have firsthand understanding of the students that I serve. And when parents and families are on campus, I invite them as well to introduce themselves. I think that just about everything that comes up, I won't say everything, but just about everything, can have a resolution that people feel reasonably good about. And so I think what I would invite people to do, certainly with me, is to assume no ill intent, right? So the first message is, please come and introduce yourselves to me. Love to hear people's story, and when there are when people have advice or guidance or feedback or want to share a concern, then I'm happy to hear that as well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And well, that is it, folks. Those are all of my questions. And thank you so much.
Thank you. It's
for
a
coming
pleasure.
down with me and answering these questions.
Of course.
Giving me the time, and for being an excellent interviewee.
Oh, thank you. And you're doing a fantastic job as an interviewer and as a host.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's nice to spend time with you.
Thank you.
Of course.